Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. We're joined from somebody straight out of Italy. Today, you're going to learn how adventure can save your life. It's time to wake up the inner giant. Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, co-creator of Wake Up with Giants TV, a tribe of giants and 12 Journeys coaching, as well as I wrote a book, A Journey of Riches. It's all about kindness. If you look that up, you can find it on Amazon. And we're here with Nicholas T. Smith. He's the other founder of Wake Up with Giants TV, a tribe of the tribe of giants, 12 Journeys coaching, and the Giants and the Smalls. This book is amazing. This is how it all started. Look at that, all the giant stuff behind him. And Nick himself is a giant and puts us on our shoulders every single week and stands up so we can get a better view of the world and a different perspective. So I'm so grateful for you, Mr. Nicholas T. Smith.
Thank you, brother.
For all that you do in the world. You're an amazing human being. And I'm excited for today's show. But before we begin and dive down deep, I think it's going to be an amazing show based on what we've already talked to our guest about. But what do we have going on in the world? I know that we've got another SG group that's going to start
today.
Today
at 11 o'clock is our 14th cohort. We've had over 50 people join our program so far, life-changing program. And then, we also hit the mark today of 301 episodes on Wake Up with Giants TV. That's huge. That's huge.
That is giant.
That is giant. Small steps, one small step every day, right? For 4 years. Good morning, Amy Bernier.
Friends. We love you too. There they are, our friends.
Yeah. So SG, for those of you that don't know what that is, that's where we really slow down with our 12 Journeys program, which is the pathway to becoming a giant. And it takes, we go over commitment, resilience, and courage. Those are our three primary tenets. And in that program, we teach you a framework to really live into a giant life, one small step at a time. We dive into your stories and narratives. We really look at how you're living and who you think you are, because that affects everything. And we teach you how to love uncertainty and possibility and imagination and abundance, and ultimately leave your legacy. Yeah.
Amy was a guest on our show.
Holy crap.
If you want a show, you got to check out her stuff that's on our
Amy went through one of our earlier cohorts, and man, what a story, what a journey that she had and Amy, I'm gonna throw you here just because it's amazing what she's created. But she went from living in her car to creating her dream place, and then ultimately locking in her dream job. And now she's impacting the world in greater ways, but all from really that start of just sitting through the discomfort and retraining her identity. So I throw you under the bus. Yeah. Yeah. And I saw Andy on there. That's my beautiful girlfriend, Andrea Bangeter. And so we love, thank you guys for supporting so much. So that's it right now. One more thing for those of you that are contributors on the Tortoise's Hair. We sent out an announcement a little while back that we used up the funds creating the book. So we're raising funds to fulfill on our commitment, our agreement. So we will fulfill that. It might take us a couple months here, but we will get it done. And your books are coming. So don't lose faith in us. It's been a year-long project getting this book put together, and it will be worth the wait. So if you get impatient, you need to go grab a copy. Go do that on Amazon right now, because it's available right there. But if you were an original contributor on that, you don't need to do that. We will get you the books. That's our commitment to you. So just want to throw that out there.
Such a beautiful book too.
Yeah, it's another awesome message. Hi, Lori Parks. So let's introduce our guest, shall we, and dive in?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I love that, Amy. Thank you. So I'm going to introduce Layne Gneiting. He's got an inspiring story of transformation despite numerous achievements, awards, a prestigious job, and a loving family. Layne felt trapped and unfulfilled. His struggles even led him to suicidal thoughts. However, through an extraordinary adventure, Layne rediscovered his passion for life and purpose. Now he empowers leaders worldwide to awaken their deepest selves and unleash their infinite potential. So please help me in welcoming Layne Gneiting to Wake Up with Giants TV. Man, it's good to have you here. All the way from Italy. That's mind-blowing.
Hey, great being with you guys. Thank you so much for the privilege.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. I've known you and known of you for, I would say, over 10 years now, roughly, or close to 10 years.
Yeah.
So pushing that. Yeah. And ever since I've known you, you've been taking people on adventures all over the world, on biking adventures. Is that right?
That's right.
Yep. Where they really dive into themselves. Yeah, go ahead. Did something come up there?
It's magical. That I wish every single person on the planet could experience it.
Yeah.
It redraws the mental map you have in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what it's about, is recreating ourselves so that everything that emanates from that is recreated as well. And Layne, we like to start off in our journeys here with, what we call the root journeys. The first 6 journeys of our program are about the inner world and what's going on in there, and who you think you are and how that affects your thinking and your emotions and your actions. And we like to use your life as a template for that. And we always start with the non-conscious journey, because that is the one that really defines who you think you are. And a lot of that is created from our society, our family, our culture, our own experiences, and we develop our belief systems about ourselves, and that affects everything we see. And I'd like you to go back to a point in your journey where you thought you were somebody else, where life was really challenging. You mentioned suicidal thoughts. Can you take us back a little bit and kind of share where you originated from?
Sure.
Yeah.
And thanks for contextualizing it that way. I appreciate that, Nick.
You're welcome.
For me, it was crazy. I was working at Arizona State University as a professor, and it's prestigious. You're a professor. You know something, but my life was total obligation, or that's how it felt.
Okay.
I felt like I was in a straitjacket, and I told people later, the reason I wanted to get a PhD was so my parents would think I was smart. And in reality, I wanted it so I would think I was smart. But then there came a point where I put aside all of that and realized that what I wanted more than anything else on planet Earth was to get on a bicycle and ride from one side of the continent to the other.
You're like the Forrest Gump of bicycling. I love that. I just started cycling.
I wish we could show GIFs on here.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we
started
can.
running.
Just started
But
running.
you should. That would be a great thing. I could see a little GIF.
Yeah.
Yeah. Running out of the house and the property.
How did cycling come up in that too, though? Like, I mean, we all learned how to ride bikes as kids and stuff like that, or most of us. Like, why cycling? What, where did all that come in?
That is a great question. So, Ryan, let me ask you, what did you love about biking as a kid?
I like the wind blowing through my hair. You could go fast, you go slow. Yeah, back when I had hair.
Hair.
Now it just tickles the scalp. And I like the freedom. Like, I learned how to ride with no hands, and I could do the tricks on the bike, and stuff like
Jumping
that.
off ramps.
Yeah, I did more of the mountain biking than the road biking, but I love just getting out and enjoying nature and the elements. And sometimes I mean, this might sound sick and twisted, but sometimes I love the pain and the burn and the and the grind of and then when you hit the top and then you could go down the hill. It was all worth it. It's like, ah, yes,
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
I don't know. That's just me, but everybody's different.
Well, that's so totally resonates. And what's amazing is that the bicycle is just a vehicle, but it's a very powerful vehicle of feeling gloriously alive.
Mm.
One of my mentors, I love what he said, that we are all seeking the rapture of feeling alive.
Hmm.
And I don't think we all feel the rapture of it. We feel glimpses of joy and we feel some excitement now and then, but the rapture of feeling alive, I think it eludes a lot of people because they're in a straitjacket of obligation, and the bike does exactly what you just said, and it's freedom.
Hmm.
It's feeling like you're connected with God, with nature, with humanity. Uh, and you get that sense of freedom that just defies description.
Hmm.
Can we hang here for a bit? There's the becoming, the bicycle as a pathway for becoming.
Mhm.
And then there's the being that exists prior to that pathway showing up. And I'd like to hang out there for just a minute for those of the viewers that are maybe stuck right there, as they have put themselves into a world that's not quite theirs.
Maybe they're
So they,
feeling like they're wearing a straitjacket, of sorts too.
yeah, like they're trying to live up to everybody else's ideals for them. When we talk in our program, we talk about Lisa Feldman Barrett and her work. She's one of the top researchers on emotion. And she talks about how we feel anxiety when we're not living up to the ideals we think others have for us. And Brad Blanton says that the ideals we think others have are our own imaginings about what we think others are thinking. And so it puts us into this space of measuring ourselves and putting ourselves in that straitjacket compared to some ideal of who we think we should be in relation to others. I'm listening to a book
Mhm.
called The Courage to be Disliked, and it's about Alfred Adler's work. And it says all of our problems are interpersonal problems, which is so interesting because if there weren't any people in the world, you wouldn't have anybody to compare yourself against.
Mm.
If you were the only
Mm.
person that existed, you wouldn't worry about what you're wearing. You wouldn't worry about what house you lived in. You wouldn't worry about your job or how you're doing or performing or anything else. And so his theory is that every problem we have is an interpersonal problem. And so we're stuck in this world, like you said, the straitjacket of measuring. And how do you teach people to break free from that, or even become aware of it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, how do you teach people to become aware of it? That's one question. And then the
Okay.
second question was, and how do you help them break free of it?
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
that right?
Beautiful. Yep. That's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think that's why this sort of an experience is so powerful because, um, boy, where to begin? Are you familiar with the inner game of tennis?
No, please share. Yeah.
So, uh, so there's this coach. He coaches tennis, and the tennis coach is always there saying, "Okay, you need to put your foot here. You need to bring your backhand here, and swing the racket this way, and hit the ball here." And he realized that that was getting in the way, and
Mm.
so instead, he just simply helped them become aware of where they were stepping. He wouldn't praise or censure them. He just asked questions to help them realize, oh, I'm putting my foot here. Rather
Hmm.
than the coach telling you you need to put your foot here, he just asked, okay, where's your foot? Oh, is that where you want it to be? Oh, no, it's not where I want it to be. What about your hand? Do you find that your shoulder is raising as you're hitting the ball? Okay, so when you do that, what's the ball doing? So rather than somebody yammer away telling you, well, here's what you need to do, go do this, He said that the two biggest things that a coach does is one, helps them become self-aware, and two, self-confident.
Mm.
And the way my program works is exactly that. I use photography and writing so that when they get out there on the bike in Italy or Ireland or India, or doesn't have to begin with I, just someplace amazing.
That's just like
Iowa. I'm like trying to
Iowa.
Yeah,
think of
Iowa,
other.
Idaho.
Idaho.
Those are the only 4 places you can go, folks,
Right. That's it.
because we can't think of any more.
Wait,
Throw a
Indonesia.
dart
We got to
as
get
Oh,
long as
there you
you
go.
Indonesia on
can.
the map.
India. Okay, you got 6. There we go.
Okay, we got 6. Those are the only 6.
Throw a dart.
The cool thing is they become aware.
Okay.
And there's one guy, Kirk Lee. He joined me in New Zealand 9 years ago. And I kept talking about transformation, transformation, transformation. He said, you know, Layne, that's not what it was. It's like I finally woke up to my true self. He didn't become somebody different. He just became who he always was, or always felt that he was, but society had constrained him in a straitjacket.
Yeah, and told him who he should be.
Yeah.
I want to play with a few words here, and then we'll go to the second part, if you'll hang on to that.
Yeah.
But the word confident, being able to confide in, and self-confidence, to being able to confide in yourself. Trust your own word, basically, is to confide in yourself. And the idea of becoming, who you are at your core versus becoming what you think everybody else thinks you should be. And the second word that I want to play with is should, which means to owe a debt to society, right? And should, I wrote an article about this the other day about shame often stems from the shoulds of life, that shame is the high interest payment we pay on the shoulds, or the debts we owe or think we owe to society on some ideal that's been created. And so we live in this cycle of shame and guilt. And so when it comes to awareness, too many people feel judgment and shame around waking up to who they've been, that they spin right back into their non-conscious straitjacket. Can you play with that a little bit? What are your views around what I just shared there?
So let me make sure that I understood you right. So first of all, there's shoulds, which is like a debt or an obligation that we owe somebody else, society, for instance.
Correct.
There's the should, and then there's the, if I heard you right, the confidence. Meaning confide in oneself and one's own ability to stand on their own 2 feet and their own ideas.
Yep. You know what's best for you. So there's the shoulds of society, and then your confidence in yourself. And then there's one more word in there, the shame. When people become aware. I'd love your take on that.
Yeah. So my take on that is that it all comes down to story. It's all choice, but let's see.
Yeah, I love where you're going. Yeah.
It's all choice. We just create stories that justify the choice. Like right now, I'm here with a buddy of mine. I actually taught him in grad school, a super guy, John Holder. And he said that when he was growing up, that his dad said, you know what, we need to save money. So what we're going to do is we're going to go fishing and actually get our own food. Like that's going to save us money, and we're going to get to fish, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So he went out and bought a $15,000 boat and a $6,000 set of fishing poles and tackle and everything.
We're gonna save money. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, we're gonna save
That's what
money.
I tell.
and,
That's what
and
I
then
tell my family too. I'm gonna go save some money and go fishing.
Yeah,
I need this new fly rod.
I gotta have this. Like, this is gonna save my kids so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it was his choice. He wanted to get the boat and the tackle and the rod and everything. And because he couldn't justify it to himself, he created a story that said, well, we're going to do this to save our family money. And that way he could justify it.
Yeah.
And it leads into a concept that I teach called dream entrapment. Think about it. If you think about entrapment, it's where police will orchestrate things so they can trap a criminal in the act. And we do that with our dreams. We will trap our loved ones into our own dreams because we feel like I need to justify my dream somehow. And the only way I can justify it is if I take my girlfriend or my spouse or whoever and I trap them into joining me on this dream journey. And people do it all the time. Instead of just giving themselves license to own their dreams, to give themselves permission to dream what they dream, want what they want, desire what they desire, and then go after it.
Okay, Dan, we're going to go down so many rabbit holes, and we'll pull it back too. So, like, we're going to connect the dots here. I've been talking about and writing about ownership this week. It's been on my mind. Ownership versus indebtedness, or a borrowed life versus an owned life. And the acronym that I came up with was own, meaning O, opportunities. There are possibilities all around you. W, the worth, is that your worth is innate. And then N for the now is that now is the time to act. That's all you have is the now to act. But the distinction between a borrowed life and an owned life, there's this idea of possession, right? To own something means to possess it. So when you own your life, you possess it. But if you borrow your life, you're possessed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're owned by somebody else. You're owned by something else. So when we have a shoulded life or a societal life or something that is borrowed, we don't own that. And so when we go back to our confidence, going back to what you talked about, then we start to take ownership of our life, every facet of it, whether it's ideal or not. We start to own it, even in small degrees. And that ownership is what really sets us free. Because when we're possessed, and this is so interesting, is you think of possession as, the devil possessed me or whatever. But when you're possessed, you don't possess or have your life. Somebody else does. What does that bring up?
Well, first of all, it sounds chilling. I mean, I
love
the idea because it just immediately, I think of Poltergeist and all those horror flicks where a demon possesses you and you don't have control of yourself. And what I love about that is that it shocks us into a recognition that, wow, maybe I am possessed. I am not owning my life. I'm allowing everybody around me or specific people in my life to own my life instead of me.
Yeah.
Well, so let me tell you what else kind of jumps to mind. There's a fantastic book called Zen in the Art of Archery.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it.
Oh my gosh, fantastic book. Thin little book, only 83 pages. But this German professor goes to Japan, 70 years ago, and he's curious about this mystical thing called Zen that they teach over there. And the Zen master doesn't want to teach him. He says, look, you Westerners, you think differently. You don't get it. And that's okay, but I don't want to teach you. But he begs and pleads and says, no, I'll do whatever you want. Don't worry. And finally he agrees and takes him on. And he says, it doesn't matter what art you use, but you learn best through an art. I think there's just such a wealth of wisdom in that. So he lays out the options. He said, you want tea preparing, calligraphy, flower arrangement, archery. He says, well, I'm a manly man. Archery, yeah, let's do that. So it chronicles, it's like a 6-7 year journey of how through the art of archery, he learns to get out of the way. And this is a different, perhaps a different angle of possessed.
Yeah.
But he gets out of the way to allow something more divine to flow through him. And it's not him who's pulling the bow. It's not him that lets go of it. In fact, the master is constantly telling him that you do not let go of it. The idea is to, and I love the phrase, draw the bow spiritually. And so the 7-year process chronicles how he finally is able to take ego, put it aside, and realize it's not me doing it. It's something more divine flowing through me.
I love that in conjunction with remembering who you are really, and unpacking all of the layers and the things that we've adopted from that we've adopted as ourselves and other people based on circumstances and views and society and all these things, but with the added component of allowing God, source, something higher than ourselves to just flow through us. And we start to see so much of a bigger picture, and we can release that arrow. We can release and find our targets. And I haven't. Maybe that doesn't even happen in the book. But in the book, like I'm just thinking about archery, and I can't wait to read that book. But just the concept of the allowance and the unadoption of all of these other things. That to me is just that speaks to my heart. And it's something that's not. Sometimes it sounds so simple when you talk like that. But when you're in it, when you're going through it, and you're starting to wake up and see I'm or feel like confined in this straitjacket, it seems like you're never getting out. I mean, if you can see yourself in a straitjacket, that could be the worst kind of torture. You're stuck. You are stuck. And learning that maybe you're the one that's keeping yourself like this, and we're the key to letting it go and flow. That's pretty amazing. I love that. Thank you, Layne.
I'm loving your word, Ryan, the flow. There's been a lot
I didn't make
written
it up.
about flow.
It's been around. Flow's been around for a minute, but I just adopted it.
Well, I'm glad you're adopting it, because
Thank you.
At least the language is certainly resonating. So let me add something that I just think is so powerful. Leonardo da Vinci said, go straight to nature. Anything else is but a copy of a copy. And if we look at nature, nature provides us the most brilliant examples. And the one one of them that I love is the caterpillar. So let me just ask you, if you think about the lifetime of a caterpillar in the caterpillar form, how far in its lifetime as a caterpillar will it travel?
Oh, man. It's always looking for food. So I'd imagine it's traveling quite a bit. It's going from leaf to leaf to leaf to leaf, just consuming. And so thousands of miles. Maybe I'm way
Ah,
off. I'm like, it's going all the way across the US. So that's probably a stretch. So probably
In
not that far.
scale, it probably seems that far for the caterpillar.
Yeah. Thank you for saving me. You're Ryan. Yeah. In scale.
It went 4 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
so it's actually a mile.
See, I was close.
You were close. You were right on the cusp there, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Times when I sounded smart.
And
Yeah.
what's kind of funny is you can imagine, the Olympic caterpillar might go 2 miles, but they do go 4,000 miles once they take the straitjacket of who it thinks it is, the caterpillar, and it creates the cocoon. But in the cocoon, something magical happens. It doesn't suddenly sprout wings. It actually dissolves into a pool of goo. Now, it has the DNA of a butterfly trapped in itself, but it's trapped in the straitjacket of its caterpillar form. And as soon as it decides to dissolve it completely, give up its identity, then the DNA is released. And when it pops out of the cocoon, it literally has transformed into its truer nature, which is the butterfly, which can fly from Canada to Mexico, 4,000 miles.
Okay. I got to play here for a minute. Yeah. Like that is such a powerful analogy of our transformation. So it's not that it was never the caterpillar. It was the caterpillar, and it dissolved and became the butterfly. And so it had to dissolve the caterpillar to become the butterfly. So I've been on the thought this week as well on the emission of our thoughts, our sensations, and our actions. And the reason I choose sensations is because emotions are labels of thoughts on our sensations. So it's really our thoughts, our sensations, and our actions that dictate our outer world. But those aren't us. Those are the things that emanate or emit from us. So if you look at the sun is the sun. And then what comes off it is all of the flames and the energy. And that's what hits the earth. But that's not the sun. That's what comes from the sun because of what the sun is. So for us, when we think we're a certain way, we're the caterpillar, then everything that comes from that is designed from the caterpillar, from who we think we are. And as soon as we change that, everything that now comes from us is from that new way of being. So there's some research that was done that says that they can determine what action you're going to take on your thoughts 5 to 8 seconds before you're consciously aware of that thought, which people have to wonder, do I really have free will at that point? The answer is yes, because you have free will to design where that thought is coming from. The self-concept, right? Or the caterpillar or the butterfly. So the moment you start to change, and in Atomic Habits, it talks about little small micro habits over time create our self-concept. And we've become who we are because of everything that's happened over time and been habituated. And that's what creates our thoughts, sensations, and our actions. So in order for us to change that, we have to dissolve that story of who we are. And once we do that, everything from that changes automatically because of that core. The idea that when you're talking about the caterpillars, it eats and eats and eats for a mile, but everything it consumed laid the foundation for it to turn into the butterfly that could fly 4,000 miles. So while in the caterpillar stage, everything we're consuming is changing who we are so that we can fly that 4,000 miles. Can you expound on that?
I could just say hallelujah, amen. So I'll tie it back to with one of your earlier questions, Nick.
Yeah, please do.
One of the reasons why I take people on bike treks is that it creates the cocoon. They're separated from all the people who have stories about them, even more important, all the stories that I have about myself when I'm around them. By separating myself from that space of all the people and all the shoulds and all the obligations and everything else.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
I'm allowed now to become aware of my caterpillar self, decide to dissolve it, and then allow myself to come from the butterfly
Because the
instead
DNA
of
is
the
already
caterpillar.
there, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
The DNA is already there. So in every one of
Already
your
there.
participants, that DNA, who they are uniquely in the world, is already there.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
And now,
That's such a cool thought. Yeah.
yeah, and it's really exciting because, you know, you can learn in four walls, but when you step out of four walls and you escape the trap of glass and steel of a car, where you have to be constantly exposed to the kiss of the wind and the caress of the sun, then you allow nature to 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 peel back those layers, the layers of self that we think, and allow those new thoughts and the new being to emerge.
Mm. Which was always there.
It's always there.
So when we talk about being a giant, one of our participants, Sunshine Himmer, she said, Nick, the giant isn't something that you become. It's something you are. You unbecome everything you've been taught to be. And so you're really unbecoming that and being what was already there. So in the giant's journey, it's not that the giant was never there. The giant was always there. But I love the idea of the cocoon too, because as soon as you step out of your old environments, as soon as you step out of surrounding yourself with the people that you think are keeping you the way that you are, and it's not them, it's your thoughts about what you think they're thinking that are keeping you there. And that story is what perpetuates your life as a small or as a caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment you step out of that and start to step into the cocoon, you start to dissolve that old life and emerges a new life, which is even more powerful, more giant, more butterfly, right?
Just straight out of the story, the giants and the smalls, when Rit leaves and comes back and he starts growing and outgrows his house and his bed and his clothes and everything, and it's like, oh my gosh, look at this transformation,
And then I thought, need more cowbell.
It's funny.
So, Layne, the concept here is that who we are is a narrative. And in narrative therapy, they talk about recognizing the narrative and then rewriting it to a more empowered narrative. And then when you start to tell that new story, it's amazing the power of stories. The first story was the story of Gilgamesh, 25,000 years BC, was the first recorded story. And stories are a part of human nature. We learn in story, we speak in story, we tell others our story. I used to tell Ryan, look, that's a great story. I would buy that in a bookstore. The problem is it's bullshit. It's not real. And that goes for me too. Like I have stories like that and they sound great and I can sell people on them. The challenge is that's not completely accurate. So you're talking about rewriting that story and giving people a cocoon to rewrite that story so that they can become what has always been there.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of the magic in that, Nick, is that when you're on a bicycle going through small towns and villages in some foreign place, you end up interacting with people and you have no story about them. You have no idea who they are. You don't have this backlog of, oh, well, this guy's a jerk, or man, this guy cheated on his wife. You have none of that. It's a blank slate for that person and also for you, because they don't have any stories about you. And so there's no preconception. You just simply have to show up as who you are. and you can't hide behind a title. What?
Yeah, they don't care. Like
They
you're
don't care.
CEO of a major company, they have no clue. They don't care.
They don't give a damn. They're like, I don't. In fact, the only thing that matters is who is this guy? What do they want? And can I trust them?
Hmm.
In other words, who are you being? And if you're being authentic and you're being yourself and just being loving and being accepting of self and others, it shows.
Hmm.
And it, it's like pollen off of a tree. You can't see it all the time, but it's there and it'll affect you. It'll either make you sneeze a storm, or you just look down and you see this almost glitter like substance on your body.
Huh. Yeah, Hurricane Layne Gneiting coming through today from that sneeze. Like, I could see that because when we went to Birmingham and I had a chance to be up on stage and speak, and it was out of my element. And my element being this caterpillar world that I've been in, and I find myself evolving over and over again. But I go out there and I get the experience of being out of that element for a minute and really just being in that event. And it just felt so freeing. It was just like, holy crap, I don't know these people. I get to be me the way I would like to be me. And then I come back home, and I think a lot of people experience this, the afterglow. They come back home to their original environment, and it can feel restrictive. Like you just put back on those old clothes and it's like, I don't, this just feels wrong. And it can be a little bit depressing. It feels sad. It's like, that's what I got a taste and a glimpse of my potential, and I get to come back home to my reality. And how do you handle that with people? Like when they go on your trips and these experiences, and then they go back home where everything is still pretty similar to the way it was before they left. And they've got to put themselves now back into that environment. How do you help them to handle that?
Man, Nick, I love your example. I love the question. It's so powerful. And one of the examples that we use is Meriwether Lewis from Lewis and Clark.
Okay. Yeah.
At least within American
I'm
history,
so glad you have an answer for
North
this.
American history. What's that?
Yeah. I'm so glad you have an answer for this. Yeah.
Well, there are a couple of things.
Yeah.
Man.
So continue with Lewis and Clark first, and then we'll.
Yeah, I'm gonna with when Meriwether Lewis was out there on the journey.
Yeah.
He got commissioned by President Jefferson to go explore the undiscovered American West and to find, if he could, a water route between the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic. And he said, ultimately he said there's not, but he describes the journey as opening up who he truly was, how he became the leader that he knew himself to be, but hadn't fully lived into. And the problem was when he got home, he wanted to stay out there on the journey. He got named the governor of the Indian territories is what they called it at the time. The point is he was given a position of authority, and he was given tasks, and the people were clamoring for him to publish his journals and let all the people know what's life like out there, what's the terrain like, what are the people like, what's the experience like. And he didn't. Because he was pining away to constantly be back in that state of the journey. Well, part of the hero's journey is you've got to come back. In fact, that's the wrong words. You don't come back. It's not a regression.
Yeah.
It's a returning. And when you return, it's actually moving forward as a guide. And if you don't do that, you tarnish the journey. And ultimately, that's what Lewis did. Meriwether Lewis committed suicide, took his life um, because he couldn't handle it. He wanted to be back on the journey.
Mm. You know, I can hear this is why purpose and legacy are so important. Our final journey in the 12 journeys is legacy. And it means it's from the Latin legatia, from Italy, right? Legatia, which means a gift,
Legatia.
legatia, a gift by will. And that's what you will for others. And it's a gift. And purpose, meaning per, forward, and pose, to pause. We have infinite purposes because we take rest stops along the way. We enjoy the view. We go to this viewpoint and that stop. And so between the two, I look at Viktor Frankl's work, and he says, you know, your goals aren't something you pursue. They're things that ensue. They're things that come from you. And that really comes back to your purpose. So when you talk about coming back into the world and being a guide for others, I could see how essential that would be. I had a friend that built a huge YouTube following, lost his purpose. That was his purpose. So when it was complete, he lost his purpose, started taking really risky, having really risky behaviors. And it ultimately cost him his life. And you know, the idea of Lewis and Clark, you know, he takes his own life because he's no longer has that purpose. That's where becoming a guide can be that purpose that allows others to learn from your journey, your adventure, right? That's where, when you get into service, you know, for me, service, whether paid or not paid, doesn't matter. It's still serving. Is Steve Hardison calls it being with somebody. He says you can't be with somebody unless you're in service. So if you're with somebody and you're really walking alongside them, you can't help but be in service around them. Mm-hmm. And so what I hear you talking about is that what he went through could have been a service to everybody else around him, and could have served as a purpose for him to continue to keep going and not lose hope for life and be depressed and ultimately take his life. And so I think, you know, recognizing we have myriad purposes, and our gift to the world, like Pablo Picasso says, you know, the gift of life is to find your purpose. And then what did he say? The purpose of life is to find your gift, and the meaning of life is to give that gift away. And so you really step into, how can I serve others with what I've learned? And there's a growth that comes from that. I don't know if I'm making any sense here, or if you can help me clarify.
What you're talking about is the hero's journey.
Okay.
And the hero's journey is very simply, you can describe it in 3 steps.
Okay.
You leave the world that you know, that you control and feel comfort in. You enter a world of adventure, and then you return.
Yeah.
And in that, it's in that middle world, the world of adventure, where you're immersed in some sort of a journey. And it doesn't need to be a geographical exit from North America. It could be, you know, hey, I'm deciding that I'm going to go to college, or I've decided that, you know what, I want to start a baking business. I've never done this before. I'm going to leave the world I know, which is a job for somebody else, working for somebody else, and I'm going to start my bakery. Well, they're in that middle world, the adventure world. And when you finally slay the dragon, you get the treasure, you basically get, like your friend did, the huge YouTube following. Then the point is, you return, because you plateau for a while. And it's not a bad thing. It just means that now your job, our I wouldn't even say our job.
Yeah, that sounds tasky. Yeah.
Our opportunity is to now take all the lessons that we gained from the journey, and help point the way for others who are just beginning their journeys. And then at a certain point, eventually we'll get a new call to adventure, a new beckoning to leave the world we know. And then we'll start a whole new journey where we leave that world, we enter a new world of adventure, and then we return to embed the lessons into life. And it's an eternal process. So it's not something to fear. It's not something to doubt. It's something to embrace and go, okay, I know where I am right now. My opportunity now is to be of service to somebody
Yeah.
by walking with them, putting my arm around them and saying, you know what, you got this. Your dream matters. Let's go. And not that you're dictating the direction they go, and not that you're forcing the lessons on them. You're simply sharing with them in a way that can bring awareness of their own power and help them become aware of the world.
Yeah, Layne, this is really putting some pieces together for me right now. I spent years trying to heal myself. I went
Mm-hmm.
from complex PTSD and generalized anxiety disorder, and that's who I thought I was. I was really trying to live up to all these ideals I thought others had of me. And it was costing me my sanity. I was feeling depressed. I was feeling sad. I was feeling defeated. I was feeling hopeless. Had thoughts of suicide, but never to the point that I wanted to act on it, but it's like, why am I even here? And so these things were the identity, but then I went on the journey of how do I heal that in me? I went and saw a psychologist, psychiatrist, took meds, read every book I could get my hands on. I've got a huge library of books now. But in that journey and these conversations and working with Ryan to create the 12 journeys, that's where I started to learn to heal. And now where I see myself is that I found a pathway, a bridge. We created a bridge. And now I go back across that bridge. I lock arms with others and I say, let's walk across this together, right? As a bridge walker. And it gives me new, renewed purpose. Now, not only do I know the 12 journeys, I get to go and walk with others as they learn the 12 journeys and they get to walk across the bridge. And some of them return to walk across the bridge with others. We have partners that have done that where they're now walking across that bridge with others and locking arms with them. And so I see myself as a bridge walker where the journey had to happen, where I had to learn how to even get across that bridge for myself. And others have locked arms with me to get me across that bridge. It's not just one person, it was myriad people that have taught me their ways, and that helped me to get across the bridge. And now I'm back doing what you're doing with the biking. It's like that to me fits in and fills in the pieces of what do we do after? What do we do next? And that is lock arms with somebody else. Help them walk across a bridge, even if it's one person, right? Whether they pay you to do that or don't pay you to do that, lock arms with somebody. It's still service either way, and walk across that bridge with them. Can you?
Beautiful analogy. It's such a beautiful visual image of a bridge walker walking across the bridge. I think of you as Gandalf.
Yeah.
Coming back to help the hobbits away from the cushy world of Hobbit Town, of the Shire, and go on a journey that's fraught with peril, and you're not running the journey for them. Frodo is still the one that's got to throw the ring into Mount Doom.
Yeah.
But Gandalf is the one who helps point the way and helps him realize he has the power. That's what I hear in what you just said.
That's what I see in what you're doing too, because when we started this, we talked about how you had at one point suicidal thoughts. But I would imagine that is such an old life, so many layers back. Mark Nepo talks about every level is a cocoon to the next, right? And so every time you take a step forward, that becomes a cocoon for the next level and the next. And I'd imagine where you are, that is so many cocoons ago that now where you're taking men out and you're taking leaders out and you're doing these bike treks and you're helping them, that there's no end to the number of people you can walk alongside and be on purpose with them on these treks. And that gives you a renewed sense of why you're here.
All the time. And I want to circle back if I can.
Yeah, please do.
Because you also said, how you were in Birmingham and then you come back to real life, normal world.
Yeah.
one of the most powerful things that a person who has undergone any sort of heroic journey can do is to tell their story.
Mm.
It does two things. One, it reminds the self, okay, here's who I was, here's who I am now, here's all the juice the succulent juice that I gained during that journey.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
second, it declares to everybody else two things simultaneously. One, I'm different. I'm not the caterpillar anymore. I'm the butterfly. So I know that that's who you knew me as, but I'm not that guy. And at the same time, it lights a fire in people who are wandering around in the dark looking for a torch, looking
Mm.
for a bridge walker, looking for somebody, and they don't know where to find it. Like they're grasping around, but when they hear your story, Nick, they say, "Wow, yeah, that's what I need." And they feel it resonate or not. And some people it don't. It'll be, man, Ryan's story. That's what resonates with me.
Yeah.
And they'll
Yeah.
be
Yep.
drawn to it, and you'll become a guide, and it just keeps cycling. Yeah. The
And
cocoon to the next.
there's things that Layne, your unique brand, my unique brand, Ryan's unique brand, we are able to connect with our pupils. I think it was Angela Mayora. She was on our show just recently. She
Mhm.
talked about, what was the book, Ryan? Do you know? Is the it's not the Way of Mastery. It's A Course in Miracles is what it was. And she said that when the teacher is ready, the pupils will appear because the teacher is ready. And each of us is assigned pupils that are ours uniquely. And so we can't lose them. Once we're ready, they're ready for us and they come find us. And so each of us has our own set of students, so to speak. As we learn mastery, then our pupils show up because of our unique fingerprint, our unique way of teaching mastery. And so like you have a way, Ryan has a way, I have a way. They're all unique. Ryan can never be me. I can never be Ryan. So he's much prettier than I am.
I
I
don't know.
can't.
You both
Yeah.
got you got the
I know.
hair and the
I even
head.
shaved my
Yeah.
head to look like Nick. And
Yeah. No, but is that accurate? I mean, do you see it that way or?
Yes. And the only thing I would add to that is that we don't ever need to feel we don't need to retreat back into the small self
Yeah.
because, well, that person didn't didn't want me as their coach or their guide or their bridge walker.
Yeah.
We can celebrate that bridge walking is happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, it's drawing the bow spiritually. It's not about us at all. It's about something more divine flowing through us, and it will resonate with who it resonates with.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah.
Layne, as we come to the end here, we like to ask you, if there was a question you wanted to be asked, you can go down that pathway. What would that
Okay.
question be? How would you answer it? Or if you had a message or an intuition for the viewer, somebody on the other side of the screen that you just feel like they really need to know this, then you could share that. What would that be?
I love that. Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
No question comes to mind. Instead, the thing that I would where'd you go? There we go.
We still got your voice.
Whoa, are we there? You still got my voice, okay. Text came through. Okay, there we are. I believe wholeheartedly that our dream is the call to adventure. Whether it's to dream, whether your dream is, hey, I want to create this book called The Giants and the Smalls, or the dream is, I want to open a bakery, or whatever it is. That is our art. And the master, and I'm going to say God, the universe, source, whatever label you want to use, that they're saying that dream is the art through which we will become the butterfly. We will become our infinite potential. It is through that. And it's in ignoring it or shoving it aside or saying, no, I really should do something different because my parents expect something different of me. No, 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 no. That dream, whatever it is your purpose here on earth. And so if you can give yourself permission to believe or permission to dream, that will unlock the dream, and then permission to believe it, that will set your feet on a journey of miracles, the likes you never would have fathomed. There we go. That's my soapbox.
That is impactful. If I use my life as an example, uniquely, individually, I was called to write the story, The Giants and the Smalls, The Tortoise's Hair, the others that are going to come through. I was called to create the 12 Journeys, called to create Wake Up with Giants TV. Now that I've gone through those, now I feel called to go back and help others do that for themselves. And so our 12 Journeys is our pathway of walking that bridge with others. And now I'm going back, and today we're doing a course on that. Our SG14 is going, and that's my chance to go back and teach them, each of those participants, how to do that for themselves. And Ryan's got his own version of that, and you have your own version of that. Yours is to take people on bike treks. That's phenomenal. I will never do that. I might come participate, but that's not going to be my pathway. That's your pathway.
Yeah,
and Ryan has his pathway. Yeah. So I don't have to mimic you, but it's also okay to mimic if that fulfills, in some way, if that fulfills you until you find your dream. And then that's where you venture on teaching people how to do it the way you did it for yourself. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a beautiful thing. Ryan, as you think and listen to this, what does that bring up for you, man, as a wrap up here?
At the start, I've ridden some bikes. Haven't ridden bikes in, like consistently in a fair amount of years. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try to pull myself into the relation of this thing and whatnot. But Layne made it really, really easy to do, because he didn't just say, okay, the only way is through cycling or this or that. And I imagine if Layne couldn't bike any longer, guess what? He still knows adventure. He still knows the hero's journey. He still knows what it takes to dream and to become alive and remember and to vision and to get excited about the possibility of miracles that can occur, the abundance and the likes that you've never seen before. How to tap into that butterfly magic, that just, I like the word juicy that you use there. There's so much juiciness inside of that, Layne. It brings up so many emotions, um, the love and intensity and excitement and joy and peace, prosperity, abundance. There's so much inside of that transformation that can occur and explode forward. And I know that he would continue, no matter what, being a bridge walker and helping people to see that path for themselves. And so those that are at home, if you're feeling like you're in a straitjacket, if you're feeling like you're just stuck, or maybe you are having success in certain areas, but in others you feel limited and wonder what can I do? How can I do it? You get in touch with Layne. You figure that out. Or if Layne doesn't resonate, then find somebody that does, because you're worth it. Your life will be infinitely blessed, and the lives of others will be blessed. Where Meriwether Lewis missed the mark, like the most amazing adventure, and then didn't publish his journals and share it and go that one extra step, and it caused him to kind of go insane. This is that one extra bit is to share it with the other people, and if you can't go do that adventure anymore, turn around and share it with other people, and so much fulfillment and joy and new purposes will come into your world because of doing that extra step. And I know Layne would do that. So go, don't wait, go do that and see the magic that can occur in your own life. Oh my gosh. And look, when we speak like this, there's a legend that shows up, the one and the only Chris Morrison.
What's up,
Oh my
Chris?
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
I
only
love Chris.
my namesake stopped just short of being incredibly awesome like Chris. I'm Ryan Morris. If they would have just added a couple like O and an N, I would have been as cool as Chris. But this is one too. This is an amazing giant that's out there. See, he knows. Freaking legend. But there's people like that, right? The Amy Bernier that just hopped on here, and commented. There's people out there that are either in the midst of their hero's journey or they've done that and now they're helping others. Chris wrote an amazing book, and he was a guest on our show. Go watch his show, go watch Amy's show, because you'll learn how others are doing it, and you might take little bits and pieces from each one of them and apply it to your own journey. And thank you so much, Layne, for teaching me. I have 2 pages of notes that I can't wait to just dive into and find all the juice that's inside of those for me. So thank you so much for your time and being here and sharing with others today.
Thanks for the joy. And Ryan, thanks for the emotion. That was beautiful. Like if you could just bottle that up, that right there is just pure heaven. Thank you. Thank you both for the joy.
I think that's Ryan's gift is acknowledgement. Mine is calling you on your shit.
which is another form of acknowledgement. It's all love.
Mine's a little more harsh than that, but Layne, this has been an incredible conversation. I gained some insights from you. My curiosity, I hope, serves others, because I just get so curious. Like, what are your philosophies? How do you navigate life? Where did you come from? Who do you think you are? And that question alone could really cause people to step back. Like, who am I to do something great? You're everything. It's the Marianne Williamson quote. You are everything. You are greatness. Who are you to play small? And that who do you think you are that you've given us is beautiful, because there was a form of you that you thought you were, and there is who you think you are today. And that will continue to evolve as you serve people. And I just thought it was a phenomenal conversation that really opened my eyes. Amy Bernier, who's on here, has been looking at, what her next steps are. And I think this is the formula that you just shared today, is when you've been able to do this for yourself, the next step is to go back and be a guide for others. Right. And it has to be. And that's where there's unlimited purposes, because then when you go to help others, you can't run out of that. There's an unlimited resource there. And thank you for that piece, because that really tells me what to tell others. Okay, after you've learned this for you, now go back and teach others. Right? Go do this for others. Just thank you for that. For those that are watching, I see you just stay on. I see the numbers consistent, like through the whole thing. You've stayed on for the entire episode. It's because there's valuable content here. I know that those that are watching, you gain some things for you in your life today that are going to impact you for the future. You will never be the same person again after watching this episode. And you probably know somebody right now that needs this message. So what I'd invite you to do is slow down for a minute, and whatever intuits, whoever that is that comes to mind, send them this link. So if you go to our YouTube channel, it's already live there. You can grab it and share it. Send them the link and tell them why they need to listen to this, right? And if you do that, that does a couple of things. It serves them. It serves us in helping us to get this message out to more people in the world. And it serves Layne and his mission to serve people and create a cocoon where they can go out and start to recreate themselves and transform themselves. So we always say, look, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, the X. Yeah, I put it up on my my wall here as a reminder. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're right on time. You are the X. You are where you're going on the X. It's the most versatile letter in the alphabet because it means whatever you want it to mean. And so you are that. So go create a giant day. You are already the giant in our story. And now it's time to step into that so you can go back and be a guide for others. Man, this just so beautifully ties into the story. Layne, thank you so much. Anything else, Ryan, before we wrap up?
I'm feeling so complete. This was a great show. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you. Layne, any final words before we wrap up?
Only that I love you guys both so much. Thanks for the love that you emanate. It emanates off of you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for that. I received that. Let's go make it a giant day. We will see you in the next episode.
Love you too.